In this video, I'm going to be explaining why a spiritual awakening is the deepest level of healing. Healing your trauma, healing your nervous system, resolving and removing all negative programming and all negative conditioning. All of these things will be cleared through a spiritual awakening. Now, healing is very, very popular these days, thankfully, and more people are embarking on this journey, especially things like trauma healing and nervous system healing. There's a lot of different methods and techniques out there, but I propose that pursuing the spiritual path will heal you by default. A recognition of who you truly are, your true self, will heal you, right? So I'm telling you to just focus on the spiritual work and everything else will take care of itself, right? I'm not saying other things aren't helpful, but the spiritual work will take you directly there. When we look at healing, we usually have to start with the body. The body is where we store a lot of our trauma, a lot of negative programming, repressed emotions, and this is where most of your programming is. You've probably heard that phrase, the body is your subconscious mind. And if 95% of your subconscious is running you, most of that programming is in your body. A big part of that is in your nervous system. So when you've had trauma or a lot of negative experiences or experienced abuse, that puts your system into this fight-flight response, survival response. And a lot of people stay stuck, chronically stuck, living in survival all of the time. And they probably don't even realize they are in survival because it just feels normal to them. If you've been in survival for 10 years or longer, it's just going to feel normal to you. You won't know anything different. But there is a healthier way of being in your body, which is called rest and digest. And the goal of healing your body is to get you out of survival and into rest and digest. And the spiritual awakening will help you to do that, to help you find more peace in your body. So what I've realized about trauma especially, and negative programming, is that it creates a strong ego. Some of you won't like this, but the most traumatized people have the biggest egos. More trauma, bigger the ego. I know usually when we think about someone with a big ego, you might think about someone who's very arrogant or doesn't care about other people, psychopathic, narcissistic. Yeah, that person has a big ego as well. But also people who are anxious have a big ego. If you're depressed, you have a big ego. If you're resentful or angry all the time, you have a big ego, right? I'm not trying to shame you for these things. I'm just trying to draw your attention to it. And I can give you some examples of this. So someone with a big ego is someone who is very self-obsessed, stuck in their own little world. Take the anxious person, for example. Being someone who struggled a lot with anxiety, the anxious person is always worried that something is going to happen to them. Something bad is going to happen in their world, in their experience. There is an example of someone who's very much stuck in their own little world. Look at someone with depression. They're so stuck in their own little world that they feel like their life is dull and sad and it's never going to get any better and their future is bleak. Again, they're just stuck in their own world. Or take someone who's resentful and angry all the time, always blaming other people. That person did me wrong. I'm going to get my own back. Again, you can see it clearly that they are stuck. So this is how you identify a strong ego. Someone who's really stuck in themselves. They can't see beyond their own problems. They can't see beyond their own struggles. And trauma specifically programs you to live with this very small sense of self in your own little world. That's probably one of the biggest damaging effects of trauma. So essentially, something I've talked about before is that when you are traumatized and you need healing, you have a lot of these contractions and tensions in your physical body. You'll probably feel them sometimes when you're triggered or activated in some way. Might be in your chest, in your gut, anywhere. It's quite common. And these tensions and contractions you hold in your body manifest themselves in your mind as your personality, your thought patterns, your worries, the things that you stress about. The the body's contractions are mirrored in your mind. They are mirrored in your identity. Okay, so the two things are essentially the same. Mind and body are the same thing, just that the trauma shows up differently. In your body it shows up as tension and contraction. In your mind it'll show up as an identity or personality, mental health problems. But they're essentially the same thing. So when you heal, which I'm going to talk to you about, when you release the contraction and the tightness from your body, naturally your personality changes. You shift, right? But I found it most helpful to work with the body, even to get the psychological and the emotional shifts. So how do we go about changing? Well, you need to recognize your true self. The deepest spiritual truth is that you are not an individual. You are not this ego that you believe yourself to be. You are the awareness, the consciousness, the unified field, whatever you want to call it, that is simply experiencing life. There's no separation between me and what I experience. But when you have had trauma or you have a strong ego, you feel this sense of separation. Once that sense of separation is there, you are stuck in your own little world, right? You see everybody else as separate from you. And that's where suffering begins and starts from. The problem we have with the world now is that everybody feels that they are separate. People of other races, other religions, other cultures, other countries, we see them as different from me. If they are different from me, then I have an enemy. But all that does is it strengthens this separate sense of self, and it actually keeps you stuck in your trauma, in your misery, and in your suffering. Happiness can never come from separation, right? Your true self is happiness. Your true self is where there is no separation. When you start to heal your trauma, that's the realization you should have, providing you go on the spiritual path, right? Naturally, when you find that true self, that I am unlimited, I'm not separate from anything or anyone, then that's when the tension and the contraction will be released from your body. Be kind of washed away over time. As your understanding deepens and you embody the understanding more, it begins to clear you out. One way we can put this is, imagine if consciousness is just empty space, right? Because it's literally nothing. It's just an experience. When you begin to embody that fully, it begins to open you up. Because if trauma is tightness and contraction, awareness is openness, space, emptiness. There's no tension or contraction in emptiness. Check out the space in this room. Is there any tension there? Is there anything that resists? No, it's just open and empty. So when you recognize that, it naturally opens your body up and it begins to release the tension and the contraction you've been holding there. But this requires an embodiment of the truth, right? But it happens gradually the more you do this work, and slowly over time, your trauma is washed out of the body. Okay, and that's why I say spiritual awakening is the deepest healing. It's like you're cleansed, because pure consciousness is it's a higher vibrational frequency than the misery and the unhappiness that you're currently in. That's a lower level frequency. Consciousness is high level frequency. It clears you out, cleans you, cleanses you. So to end the video, I just want to recommend a book, a very popular book, a book that I've read 10 times maybe. The book is Power of Now that I'm talking about, Eckhart Tolle's famous classic. And I've just been rereading it again. I've just reread it almost twice. And if you can just work on being present, it's a very, very powerful state. That state of presence is your true self, is that conscious being, that awareness that I'm talking about. Yes, I know it's difficult when you've had a lot of trauma and negative conditioning. You keep getting hijacked by your mind and it's hard to stay present. But if you can just take the time to read the book and work on staying present as you read the book. I'll probably make another video on it, but I just wanted to mention it in this video because it's a book that helped me a lot. Because you're always present, and if you really try to embody it all of the time, and the book helps you to do that, you'll make a lot of progress. Okay, and you'll find a lot of freedom in that. you'll release the contraction and the tightness, and you'll find the awareness, the consciousness that you are, which, like I said, is always present, always available for you. It's never anywhere else. And that book, and a lot of other spiritual books as well, will just help draw your attention to it. That's why I think it's always good to be reading some spiritual book. I often read 2 books at a time, right? One book I might read on self-development or business or relationships or something else, but I'll always be reading a spiritual book alongside that to just deepen my understanding. So on one hand, I'm still learning new things about this life that we are in, this matrix, but then I'm also deepening the truth of my understanding of who I really am. So that's how I suggest you go about reading. One spiritual book and then one book about whatever you want. But the reading for me especially has been very, very helpful, very, very important in just constantly deepening my understanding. Okay, so that's everything I've got to talk about in this video. If you enjoyed it or you want to watch more things like this, check out these videos right here. But until next time, God bless.